Thanks for having me here. My name is Judy, and I've lived in Montezuma County my whole life. I was born and raised here. I'm actually a fourth generation. My family homesteaded over at Lewis, my great-grandparents. I'm really proud of my heritage at Montezuma County, and that's kind of why I wanted to run for office. I'm sorry, I'm really nervous. So.
We don't bite, so go ahead.
That's good. My family was a hard-working bunch. My dad started his first job when he was 10 or 12 years old. He was hired by some ranchers who were feuding, and he brought a herd of 1,000 sheep from over by the Utah line with another herder clear up to Lewis. So hard work has always been a part of my family, and it's something that I expect out of myself. So I feel that it's important. I've been working at a bank. I was hired at First National Bank and worked there for 33 years. I started out in bookkeeping when we were doing everything manually. Whenever you sorted checks by hand, learn your alphabet, got started, and post to ledgers. I later moved on to new accounts where I love doing customer service. I love meeting people and, giving them good service. That's important to me. I worked at new accounts. I was a compliance officer and internal audit. A compliance officer is someone who follows the rules and regulations of banking. And while I was doing that, I was also the internal auditor so that we made sure that we followed those rules and regulations. I was also the training person who did the training to make sure that everyone followed those rules because they're so important. Bank can get fined heavily if they're not following the rules and regulations. I was also the assistant cashier. Cashier in a bank isn't just the teller line. It is probably the center of everything that happens in the bank. That's where all of the accounting procedures take place. So I learned budgeting, I learned general ledger accounting, balancing of internal accounts, and learned to balance and sell investment portfolios. Took care of that. 3 years ago, I decided to do a change. I'd been in banking for so long, I decided to change. So I'm now working at Fraley and Company. As many of you know, that Fraley has recently sold. So we've been putting in a lot of long hours, and I haven't had a lot of time to devote to my campaign. But I feel like that these people are paying me to do a job, so I should work for them first. So this has just been a secondary, and so I feel kind of bad I haven't been able to get out and meet a lot of people. I do feel that the county clerk's office is kind of the cradle of Montezuma County. There is so much history in there. If I took the time to go back and see where my great-grandparents actually homesteaded the place over by the Great Cut Dike, that's so much interesting information, and it needs to be protected. And look at everything else that goes through that office. The deeds are all recorded there, every sale of every piece of property, marriage and death certificates, divorce papers, liquor licenses, your license plates, everything. And the most important probably is the voter records. If you register to vote there, they keep track of everything. And without the clerk's office, there wouldn't be elections, and they wouldn't be fair. So I feel that I have a lot of experience that would really help in the clerk's office. I would like to see a more professional atmosphere there. I would like to see greater customer service. I think customer service is one of the most important things. I like to treat people fairly, and I like to make sure that everything that they need has been answered. I like to see cross-training within the department so that everyone can do every job there. And the training is always so important to make sure that each person can help everybody. Sometimes cross-training is, no one person can be an expert at everything, but they can at least know where to go and find their roles. So by cross-training, they know where to go and find that. I like to see teamwork. Teamwork builds a very close-knit employees where everyone respects everyone else and helps everybody else out. So I like to promote that. I'm a hard worker, I'm dedicated, And I have a good work ethic. I always have had a good work ethic, and I work until the job is done. And I think that's about all I have to say. So, thank you for having me.
I too would like to thank the 912 group for having us out. It's quite an honor to be invited to the 912 group, I believe. In the last few months when I've been coming out to the 912 group, to listen to the other candidates and show my support to them, I have learned so many things from what they have, our little section here that they just showed you. And several weeks ago they showed that film about the American flag and the Star Spangled Banner, and every time I hear that it gives me goosebumps. So I'm really glad that they chose tonight to show that again. Thank you, I appreciate it. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kim Percell, and I am running for Montezuma County Clerk. I am just a little bit about me, I am the youngest of 4. I am the only girl. I am a Colorado native. I was born in Rifle, Colorado. My father was an educator. He taught school at the high school. I don't remember much about Rifle, Colorado because I was just a little girl, but my mother tells me that whenever I came up missing, I would be out at the chicken coop with my little tiny fingers sticking through the fence watching the birds. And that seemed to be where she kept finding me. And I don't know why, I don't have any fascination for birds at this time, but that seemed to be the thing. And from that, I gathered that my father actually had a farm at that time too, but I don't remember very much about it. My father moved us to Colorado Springs, where he again taught at the Air Force Academy, and he was also a coach for basketball and track. He then moved the family to Greeley, Colorado, so he could complete his education. And with that degree, he moved us halfway across the state, and plunked us down in Dove Creek, Colorado. And I have to tell you that I love Dove Creek, Colorado. It was a lot of fun to live there. A little bit later, my dad had the opportunity to move to Cortez, Colorado, and this has been my home ever since. I finished high school in Cortez. I met my sweetheart. I married my sweetheart. We had 2 boys. I completed my education here in Cortez. And it's kind of funny that we're meeting in this particular building. I started my work right here at Cortez Oaks Lodge. When I was a sophomore in high school, I came out every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night as a bus girl, and I earned $2.35 an hour. And I thought I was rich. Then, as I was about a junior, I started working at the local H&R Block as a receptionist. And after 20-some years, I still worked for H&R Block. A couple years after I started, I earned my certificate for tax consultant. And even up till 1997, I still had specific customers who would make an appointment just for me to do their taxes. In that time, I covered every position in the office. I did the bookkeeping, I did the receptionist, I did the checked all the tax returns for verification, and I did whatever was needed to do in the office. When my boys were old enough to go to school full-time, I went to work at Vector Bank, so I too have a little bit of banking experience. I was there for 9 years. I started as a teller. I also went into bookkeeping. I was responsible for branch balancing, for statements. I did personal accounts. I did commercial accounts. I did CDs. I was a customer, what they call customer liaison, so I took care of customer problems. I did commercial loans, and I did personal loans. And I also have a solid, strong background in customer service. At Vector Bank, they actually have people called mystery shoppers, where they come and shop you as you're a teller or whatever position you're in. And in the 9 years that I worked at Vector Bank, I earned 3 awards from mystery shoppers and 2 awards statewide. I went to work at the clerk's office in 2005, and I started in the motor vehicle department. I had a really great trainer. She tried to pour everything she could into my brain. And I got to tell you, motor vehicles is not an easy subject to learn. I did not know the difference between a Chevy Cavalier and a Chevy Malibu, but You have to learn that stuff. A couple of years later, I got really interested in the election department, and I transferred over to there. I just totally found elections fascinating. We have, 2 years later, I finally earned my election certificate. In the meantime, I learned how to do the bookkeeping. I learned how to do the clerk to the board. I learned how to do Board of Equalization and abatements. I learned how to do, I got my acceptance from the state so that I could do vital records, including marriage licenses, birth certificates, and such. In 2011, Carol appointed me as her chief deputy, and I've been the chief deputy ever since. I believe I have the experience, I believe I have the knowledge, and I believe that within my office there's a lot of work that can be done, a lot of changes probably need to be done, and I plan on doing some of those changes. I want to hope and pray that this is what I'm meant to be or meant to do, and I hope and pray that I have your support in November as the new clerk. Thank you.
Well, you've heard it straight from them. Question time. Anybody any questions that you'd like them answered to verify whether or not they're qualified? Or I might just start off, and you'll have to start off, Kim, since she started off first time.
Okay.
Why do you want to put up with people like me coming in?
That's a really good answer. Really good question, I should say. You know, ever since I was in high school, I have dealt with customer service, which I'm sure Judy has too. And you learn to love the public. I mean, everybody has days when they're having a bad day, as we do in the office also. But you learn to love to be of service to the public. And they bring you a problem. Just as an example, I had a young lady come in today who actually had gone on the website on this, Googled her name. And when she got on there, she found out that her whole voter registration record was out there in the public. And she was not aware that that was out there. And she was frantic. So people bring you their problems, and it's just fascinating to me to fix or to work through their problems and take care of whatever their needs may be.
That's the same thing for me. Again, I'm a proud resident of Montezuma County, and it's just, this is a job I've always wanted to do, and I think I'm experienced for. I think I would bring a lot of change to the office, an outside perspective. The deputy is always usually the one that's elected as a county clerk, so I think I would bring outside experience to it. I love dealing with the people. I love helping people. I love trying to help them figure out what we need to do. I never let a customer go away dissatisfied. If I can't answer that question right then I take the time to research it and get back with them, and I always follow through. I feel that's important in any business.
Judy, this may be a little tough for you since you're not working in the office, but if not, we'll let Kim do it, because I'm not really trying to put you on the spot. I guess I have a problem, and I'm not trying to condemn Carol either, because I just wanted to explain to her, with voter registration. And not so much voter registration is cleaning up the rolls of voters that don't vote or died or moved. And the only personal experience I had is I had a couple, $3 or $4 go to college, and they could have got lost in the mail. I guess I just want to know the procedure. I send them back and say they no longer live here. They no longer go to vote here. Now they do again. You know how kids, you can't get rid of them no matter how hard you try. They still keep showing back. But how can we make sure that the voter registration rolls are clean? What is the responsible of the county versus the state? Is it all state and your hands are tied? So Judy, if you don't quite know the answer to that, if it's too technical, I understand that this is not meant to trip yet. So.
You know, that's something that I haven't got the experience with, but I hope to gain it. But I would think that it's a lot of work to keep up with all the residents of Montezuma County and where they live at and where they work at. But, you know, that's something that, as in the office that you should strive to work at to figure out if your voter records are current and up to date. And that's something that I would really like to investigate to see what to do on that.
Well, actually, Chuck, your voter registration record cannot be changed in any way without your signature. So even if you have a change of address or you no longer have a post office box, the only way that we can make any kind of a change is if you fill out a form and give us your signature. And all of those forms are actually scanned into your voter registration record. The only other option that you have to make any kind of a change like that is to go to www.govotecolorado.com, and you can make your changes to your voter registration at that time also. We get random projects from the state. As a matter of fact, we're working on one right now where they send us projects of 300 or 400 names at a time of voters that are no longer eligible to vote or have some little checkbox within their voter registration that is not supposed to be there, or some clerk error where they put a space in between their names or something. So we get projects like that from the state all the time. For as far as keeping them up to date, we try to send out confirmation cards, voter information cards several times during the year, and the state also sends out voter information cards, little postcards telling you that this is what your voter registration has right now is your current situation. And if any of those things are changed, there's always an opportunity on the back side of those to make any kind of changes and send it back to us so that we can get it cleaned up.
Just to follow up on him, maybe I better fill out a change notice before I croak. My age, it could happen any time, so.
Deceased records? Is that what your question is?
Yeah, my record's still going to be in there. Gotta change my record today instead of.
Yeah. What happens with a deceased record is all we have to have is a notification from a family member, or we actually get, if the death certificate is registered within the state of Montezuma, or within the county of Montezuma, we are notified by the recording department that that person is deceased and gives us the opportunity to cancel that record. We also get from the state records that have been people that have been deceased in other counties, and if their record is then sent to us electronically, and we can cancel that record.
My question, I'm trying to phrase this into a question. I work for the company and we have 80 vehicles that are registered. We deal with the port of entry. How important is it to be able to answer my question without saying I got to get back to you? The port of entry doesn't wait. It's either a fine, hold up, or it doesn't happen. So I need to know, it's like a job interview. Tell me how I can go in and get resolved right then. We don't have time for stuff. Do you think experience is important and being trained to deal with the state? I deal with the state on a regular basis on licensing. Carol knows who to talk to. I think Carol does a great job. I think looking forward, we need to know how we're going to get help in that part. The state changes registrations, I want to say weekly, but it's not weekly. Every year they come down with something new that has to be registered. The next year it doesn't have to be. I go to the courthouse to get resolved, and Carol's always been there to help me. So I need to know how important it is that we hit the ground running in November.
Well, I think it's really important, and I plan to work very hard at that. And I do agree with you that, you've got to know where to go, but one thing you've got to know is where to look. So a lot of times it may be where you have to look or a telephone number that you may need. There's always someone there that's going to be able to help you. It might be one of the other county clerks from a different county that may help, or the employees right there in the office. There's a lot of experience in that office. And I would work very hard to gain that experience.
I believe that within our office, there, like Judy said, there is a lot of experience, but I think there's a real need to keep up with the ever-changing policies of the state, especially with the port of entry. And that is one of the difficult things that we have within our office is getting the proper training to all of our clerks, because most of our training happens in Denver or over in Alamosa or up in Grand Junction. And we have 4 motor vehicle clerks, and if we send all 4 of them to learn, then the customers or the constituents of Montezuma County are quite upset when they come in and there's not somebody there to take care of it. Excuse me. But my intention is to teach, and what I would like to do is have one person learn it and then teach it to the rest of the office. And that includes the people that are in the recording department and the people that are in the election department. So if you have a question, each and every one of us can answer that question, and if they can't answer that question, they know how to get to the state or get to whoever can answer that question. So that's the one thing I can tell you is like there is a lot of experience in the office already as far as port of entry, and we have kind of like speed dial. Hey, talk to me. Tell me what to do. So.
But let me do all the questions.
Well, I'll ask another one on voting. I guess I'm watch too much TV and look at Chicago or Houston or Dallas or something on this voting, and I think that is the most important thing. Is there anything that can be done, and maybe we should ask Carol this, but what can be done to make sure we verify? And I've tried to call it because through Republican, I am a Republican, that's just the way it is. You've tried to call this for people to come out, maybe your precinct caucus, maybe to vote for. I'm serious, you're lucky if you can get 3 people off per computer printout page. It is horrendous. And if you don't believe me, we can sit down, you pick the precinct, and we'll call them, and you'll find out those people, the number's disconnected, they no longer live there, it's just amazing. And, and I have some rentals or something, and we'll get stuff for 4 or 5 years after the people left. They registered, and we still get it. I'm just wondering, how can we clean this up? Is it something that has to be done at the state level, or what? So, sorry about that. Somebody's asking.
I understand what Chuck's trying to ask us here. It's actually, as far as your voter registration, if you don't do anything to your voter registration, you have to have not voted in the last 2 general elections before we can cancel your voter registration, unless otherwise we are notified that you have moved, or that you no longer reside in the state of Colorado, or that you're deceased or something. So basically, our hands are tied unless the voters take responsibility, and if they can't, unless they're deceased, to let us know what's going on with them. As far as those voter records, as long as they're active, as far as the caucus list or whatever, as long as they're active, we're required to give you the entire list.
So after 2 general elections, is that like a 2-year and a 4-year? So 1 4-year term, you will cancel anybody that doesn't vote? Is that what it's saying?
Two general elections. For example, it'd be like 2012 and 2014.
I can see the problem within the clerk's office, because working in banking, if an account was left dormant for 2 years, it had to be determined to be sent to the state of Colorado in the unclaimed properties. And a lot of people, you send out a statement and you get nothing back. And so you've lost contact with that person, and they're actually dealing not with their voter record, but with actual cash that they forget about, or they don't read that statement that's coming in the mail. So it is very, very hard to get people to respond to different things that come in the mail for them. If it's important to them to vote, they will respond. And other times, it's just really difficult. But you've got to do your due diligence to try to get a hold of those people. There may be, different ways to phone call. A lot of times people are disconnecting their phones now and going to cell phones. So it's hard to keep those records up to date too. But again, you have to do your due diligence.
Well, here's my problem. Now with mail-in, somebody can mail it in. I'm not saying that that's not against the law. All I'm saying is, it happens.
Okay. Let me, if I could, just let me explain to you what happens when you get a mail ballot and you return it. When you get a mail ballot and you fill it out and you return it and you sign the signature part or the signature portion on the envelope as it comes back. When that comes back into our office, we have people within the office that verify the signature on that ballot along with your voter registration record. And every article or every voter registration paper that you have filled out has been scanned into your record. So we try and match that signature to any signature that we have in your record. If it doesn't match, then we do not accept that ballot until we send you a letter telling you that these signatures don't match. The other thing is it's not only verified once, it's verified by the office staff first, and then it goes to the election judges and they verify it a second time. So they have signatures that we say we think are okay, and then they look at them and they're not. So then you get a letter in the mail that says, you need to come in and talk to us because we're not matching up here. So that's how we verify that the ballot that you send in or that comes into us is the ballot that matches you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. I was going to ask you that question about reassuring people because of these mail-in ballots. So many people are afraid that somebody could vote, you know, and just sign somebody's name on it. I just kind of wanted to ask you the procedures that you followed to let everybody know and to kind of reassure them how that was handled. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're getting into a little information source here, not just interview. Get back to the interviews here.
Thank both of you for coming. Appreciate it very much. I want to repeat something that I heard the other day and a suggestion that went with it. And I would like to know what your thinking is. The thing that I heard was that, and I haven't experienced this myself because I haven't been in there at that time, but they say that during the noon hour your office is extremely busy. Because people can't, you're closed at the time that most people get off work. The suggestion was that at least with your motor vehicle people, that they were staggered so that you would have some start first thing in the morning, some a couple hours later, and then in the afternoon you'd stagger whenever they quit so that you'd be open instead of like 8 to 4 or something like that. You'd be open from 8 to maybe 6, something like this. I would like to know what your thinking is, because I know that this puts a burden sometimes on the employees.
Well, my thinking is, I think that the clerk's office is open during the noon hour, but I think a lot of times that I've experienced it, gone in and there'll be one person there to wait on several people, and it's very frustrating because I'm usually using my lunch hour to go in and do my business because I don't have time during the time they're open. So I think that probably people within the clerk's office need to be able to step over. And again, that's kind of the cross-training and the helping each other out, you know, the team effort to help each other so that you don't leave people sitting there with hardly any help to wait on them, because it causes frustration for the person in there conducting their business and for the employees working there. The more they see people lining up, the more frustrated they get. And it's hard to conduct business whenever you're kind of nervous anyway. So, you know, it's a good thing to have the cross-training so that people can step into that position, get people out and get them out of there. Part of the thing that may help a lot of people is whenever I have questions that need to go to the clerk's office, is I have those in the evening at a better website where you can get some of those answers. Go to the website and see what you're going to need so that you're prepared when you go in there. And those are some of my ideas.
That is an issue within our office. We have 4 motor vehicle people and we have 4 people who have personal lives and they have issues with those personal lives. We have normally we have 2 people that go at noon, and we have 2 people that go at 1 o'clock. And staggering it is a possibility. The only situation with that is we have 4 motor vehicle people, and they all have specific jobs that they're required to do, not just wait on customers. We also have 3 people in the back that can help with motor vehicle and help to cover in those 2 hours for the lunch hour. One of the suggestions that we have been told is that we extend our hours to like 4 10-hour days, and I believe that is a possibility. I think it might work out. I think it would be difficult for the other departments to come in. I guess the thing that I need to tell you is for elections, I can't take somebody from motor vehicle and put them in elections. They have to be certified to work in elections. And then the same thing with vital statistics. They have to be authorized to work in the vital statistics to do marriage licenses and stuff. My thought is to get a little extra help in there and to have, as Judy said, the website. We have a brand new website, and they're putting up more and more information all the time regarding that. There are also state websites that give you the information of what you're required. And my other thought was to try and use the newspaper to let the people know before they ever come into the office what's going to be required for a specific title registration or etc. So I think there's a lot of different options for us there, and I think if we work together as a team, then we will get there. And one of my major concerns is customer service within our office. And that's something that I plan on working with. There's some bad policies, or not bad policies, but there's some bad behavior that I hope to address and take care of. So that's what my hope is.
Could you tell us a little bit about the recorder's part of it? Everybody's been worried about elections, but what does the recorder do for the county? I mean, what's the job?
Okay. The recording department is in charge of all of deeds and recorded documents. We're required by the state to keep them in a safe place, in a safe condition. We also take care of not easements, but plats, and we take care of marriage licenses, and we take care of birth certificates, death certificates. We do not take care of divorce papers. Those come from district court. Those records are kept with district court. We also take care of, I have a little list here, marriage licenses, and of course I don't have my cheaters on. I just want to make sure that I have everything. That's pretty much basically what the recording department does. They take care of all of the real estate recordings. They take care of all of death certificates, birth certificates, marriage licenses, and they also take care of documents that go to the assessor's office, like purged mobile homes and stuff like that.
It's very important, the recording, and I think it takes a specialized person, because those property descriptions and everything have to be put down so carefully. And I would really like to see some of the older records put on some kind of digital media so that we don't lose those vital history records. They're so interesting, and I would like to see some way to protect those. Those papers, when people thumbing through them, start to deteriorate after a while, and I would hate to see some of that history ruined. But every recorded, you could cause so much trouble by not recording something properly. A property sale, if it was not recorded properly, could be nullified and cause so much trouble for the buyer not having a clear title to that. So, that job I think is extremely important.
Here recently, like after our county commissioners interview, I think our little group got kind of a little Sam in the newspaper about the Patriots seem to be kind of finished with the Constitution. They were right, we do. I think you heard some of the reasons why earlier when Bud was talking, and Chuck mentioned what they need to do. Bud mentioned a co-oath of office. Each of our elected officers here in Colorado, they take an oath of office. It is I, Kim, or Judy, do solemnly swear by the ever-living God that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Colorado and faithfully perform the duties of the office of county clerk. With that in mind, that is what you're signing on to do, whoever is elected. The first two things was to protect the Constitution of the United States and protect the Constitution of the state of Colorado. How do you see the clerk's office being able to have any influence, or how do you protect the Constitution of the United States and the state of Colorado?
I think you protect that through training to make sure you know what those laws and regulations are. A lot of times if you go to group meetings, you do learn so much. And again, it is an expense, but it is so important to learn how to follow it. The clerk's office does not make the laws, but they are there to uphold them. And, to give it a voice, that law has a voice, and this is the way it has to be ran. Sometimes it's not always easy in a small county with the limited funding to follow the regulations. So, you've got to find ways to be able to follow those regulations, to get help so that you know how to do that, to get ideas from other counties so that you can build upon it what fits this county. And it's just very important to get the education and the training. Without it, you fall behind.
I would take the oath of office in a very serious manner, in the fact that the Constitution, the state Constitution mandates 90%, or actually all, of what the county clerk's office is required to do. And from what I understand, it's the state Constitution that we rely on more than the federal Constitution, if that's my understanding, I think, is what I'm learning. I believe that everything that we are mandated by the state and their statutes. And I had a feeling that you guys, because I've been here before, I had a feeling you guys were going to talk to us about that. And I wanted to show you our book. And this section right here, these few pages, that's the federal Constitution. And the rest of it is the state Constitution. So we have there, I couldn't even say that I know all of it, but I believe that we have to follow what this book tells us to do.
If you were elected, would you be able to go in there and take over, or how much it would cost taxpayers to train you to do that job when someone else already knows it?
Again, I think there's a great deal of experience within the office, and it's hard to ask people to train you to do your job when you're supposed to be the boss. I've already started looking at the revised statutes, the Colorado revised statutes, and I printed them off. I've been reading them, I've highlighted them, I've gone through things, and I don't pretend I know as much as I should. There is no way to ever know. But it was so interesting to learn about what is in the revised statutes. Some of it's kind of dry, some of it's just, I did not realize that those were the laws. So yes, it is going to be asking a lot of the clerk's office, the people are there. But I'm a hard worker. I dedicated my life to hard work, and I will continue to do that within the clerk's office.
Well, I already have my state certification for elections, and I already have my verification to do vital statistics. I've been the chief deputy for the last 3 years. I've been the clerk to the board almost since the first year that I started. I've worked in motor vehicle, and I've worked in the recording department. I know the bookkeeping. So, I mean, yes, there's a lot of experience in my office, but they all have a lot to do in their own jobs. And it's hard for us to cover each other. That's something that I was going to mention earlier. You know, if one of us in elections has to get off of elections and go help in motor vehicle, that puts us behind in elections. So, you know, there's a lot of work to be done in there, but I already have the knowledge and I already have the experience.
Is there any one area that you would consider initially the most important area that you need to focus on when you take office?
There's a lot of areas that I would like to focus on. Again, my major concern is customer service. I mean, I listen to the people in the public, and I know that they're frustrated with the long lines that we have in our office, and I understand that. I hope to use utilization of the website and to use utilization of the newspaper to not only educate the people in the Montezuma County what's required, but to educate each other. Right now, though, there's a lot of changes going in all three different departments. Here pretty quick, you're liable or able to record a document electronically, which we can already do, but we're also going to be able to be doing death certificates electronically. And so there's a lot going on in every department, and it's going to take somebody a lot of time and a lot of education to keep up with those changes, and then to teach them or to train the entire office in those changes.
Like I said, when I was in my previous life, I did follow the rules and regulations and training, and it was very important to attend every training that you could get, whether it's webinars or to travel, and then to bring that information back to your office and share it with your individuals. That has to be done. So if I'm going to be learning a new job, it's going to be a full help to everyone in the office, because I would have to train, so I'm going to be learning every new regulation that there is out there, and I would share that with all my employees, which will help them, bring them up to speed at the same time. Cross-training is so important, and I've been a trainer before, so I kind of know how to put this stuff together and what to share. And it's usually everything that you bring back from wherever you're learning. Even if it's a webinar, you can take information that you learned from a webinar and put a lot of training sessions together for your employees. You can also get a lot of help, like I said, from other counties. Talk to other people. Find out what they're doing for education. So it would be very important to get that all up to date, because it is so hard to keep up these days. The life changes too fast.
People leaving this up to me. I don't like that. Some of us, I go into the clerk's office to get my license renewed. What are the job responsibilities and authorities of the county clerk?
I think the county clerk is probably a lot in the guidance. I see Carol out on the line when I've been there. She's been, the last time I took my petition in, she was the one on the line waiting on people, so she had to wait till she had cleared out the customers in order to help me. So the county clerk is there to help out everyone in there. The county clerk should know every job in there. She's not going to be an expert on everything, but me as the county clerk, I would want to be able to answer a lot of questions. I want to be able to do every job within that office. And I think it's important, and you know, that is the role, is to be the supervisor, to know that job, and to be able to get help to your employees whenever they need it.
The clerk is responsible for executing state laws relating to motor vehicle, certifying auto titles, and motor vehicle registrations. So it's up to the clerks within that office to have any problem that you bring to them, whether it's a special ID, whether it is a mobile home, whether it is a bonded title. They need to know what the procedures are to get you your title and your registration. And sometimes it's as simple as a step of 1, 2, 3, and other times it's not. But they should be in a professional manner helping the customer to do whatever the state requires to get their vehicle registered and titled.
Barring any last minute questions, like each of you tell me why should I vote for you?
Well, like I've been repeating myself over and over again, I already have the experience within the office. I have to tell you, I love the people that I work with, but we all need to be doing a little bit more. And I think that with this office and my experience, I can make the changes within the office to serve the people in a better way, with better customer service. I have an open door policy for all questions, comments, and concerns. I have always returned every phone call that's ever come in to me. I have always taken care of whatever problems or situations have been presented to me. I have learned what I need to do within the office. I'm not saying there's not more to do or more to learn. I know I can learn it. I know where to look. I know where to take care of it. I have already got the experience in the elections. I've already got my certification. I just feel like I am the right choice for this job because I already know how to take care of the job. And I would really appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you.
I feel that my outside experience would be very beneficial to this office because it's been passed down for who knows how long, that it has always gone from the deputy clerk became the county clerk. And it's because of that experience that they have. I would bring an outside, different, new ideas. You know, I really believe in customer service, so that would be my first step. I'm an outsider, so I would step up the very first day and tell them what I expect. You know, I expect professionalism. I expect a willingness to work, and it may not just be an 8 to 5 job, and I know the county probably doesn't like to pay overtime, but sometimes people can put a little bit more effort into their job during the daytime and get a lot more out of it. I think that you can do that. I mean, we all take time out for a little personal something here or there, and maybe you end up spending a half an hour that you didn't intend to on the job, and you're being paid to do a job. You should be working for that company, and you should do the job. So I think as an outsider that I would be a good choice for this job, and I would appreciate your vote, and I look forward to talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you both for coming in and exposing yourself to our questions, and have a round of applause, please.